The classic scene editor here has a few things going on. In all honesty, not a huge amount, but it is of course worth, pointing out the functions that are available in it. Obviously, we often use the scene editor, for finding items or, setting parent-child relationships and stuff like that. What's often missed, of course, is the fact that you've got a timeline over here which displays, animation and keyframes. And you do here, in the classic scene editor, have a few very basic key handling methods. First of all, let's have a look at what we've actually got in this scene. We've got two cameras here with some truly amazing animation going on them. I mean, look at that, it's wonderful. So let's see what we can actually do. Well, let's note first of all, you've got the Shift and Scale key menu options here. In the Shift menu here, we see that we've got two options. This is to shift or move keys in time. And we have this either for the currently selected items or for all items in the scene. Let's just do it for selected. And you see that you can choose to shift frames that exist within a range. In this case, our frames exist in the 0 to 50 range. So let's just say low frame 10, high frame 60. And we'll choose to shift frames by, let's say 15, shall we? You'll see, of course, watch the frames down at the bottom here, that just those frames which existed within that section of the range have been moved by the indicated amount. You can also, of course, when you do shift frames like that, in this case we'll take 10 to 60 again, but we'll do it at, let's say, -10, you can shift frames backwards in time. In that case it only shifted that mid frame because this one over here is now at 65 and has fallen outside of the region we specified. You can also scale keys, once again, either for selected items or for all items. This scales them in time. So let's say for this point, let's take low frame 0, high frame 65, shall we? And let's scale time by, let's say, 1.5 here. That makes the time stretched out. It stretches the frames 1.5 times longer. Of course, if you want to shorten, then you can do a scale keys for selected items. What are we going to now? It's going to be, let's say, anything between 0 and 100, which is, of course, all frames. And we can go, for instance, 0.5 like this, and that gives us 0.5 scaling. Notice, of course, what this does do, irrespective of anything else that we've got set in the scene, it will create fractional frames for us. So you can see that this middle frame there has wound up halfway between frame 22 and 23. The shift and scale key tools here don't respect any kind of key quantization. So there's that, very basic. If we look at the actual, timeline area itself, we can see that we have these purple bars there. If we just deselect something for a second, you can see we also have these little checks on them which represent the keyframes and these little sort of boxes at either end. First of all, what you can do is you can click a purple bar like this and drag it, which shifts the keys around in time, just moves that whole animation there. What you'll notice you can't do, however, is click and drag an individual keyframe. You're always dragging the entire set of keys for that item. What you'll also notice is it doesn't matter what items you have selected, whether it's one or many, it only ever drags the set of keys for the item which you are clicking on there, the bar that you are clicking on. The little handles at the outside here, they will actually allow you to stretch your key times like this. So you can, shrink and stretch your keys on an item simply by grabbing these handlebars at either side and just stretching time quickly and easily like that. Again, notice it's got nothing to do with the item selection, it's purely which bar you are clicking and dragging. You will notice in the scene editor as well, the classic scene editor, that you have this little plus symbol next to all items. If you expand that open, you'll see that you get a list of the actual items channels that come down. And here, of course, we see that just like the purple bar, we have individual bars for each channel. Once again, you can click and drag these in the same way, and you see that that just shifts the keys for that one particular channel. And of course you can see the purple bar updating to reflect this. Same again with, stretching or shrinking time for a given channel. Notice that you can't select channels, so once again there's no way to multi-select anything like that. However, the one thing that is different here is you can actually click and drag individual keys within that channel to move those around like this. There is one other little thing that happens here in the classic scene editor. If you click, or rather if you middle click somewhere in, the timeline area here and drag, you'll see that you get this little, shaded area appearing. Now, click as you might, right click, left click, whatever, you'll see that it doesn't appear to be making any kind of a change here. The only thing that does is to preset for you the low and high frame numbers that are entered in the shift and scale key time dialog. So rather than having to type in numbers to those, you can just drag a range, go to shift or scale keys, and that range will be automatically selected there for you. And there you have it. That's basically all of the animation editing capabilities that we have here in the classic scene editor.